Hi guys and welcome to Bomb Anime.
It's your girl Bruca.
And Big Boy Summer here. Zone 100, Episode 6, RV of the Dead.
So in this episode, this is where they put their plan into action. Tendo wants to go see if his family is okay. So Kencho thinks that now that the power is gone and the water's almost gone, as well as the food being very scarce, they should now start to take things seriously. They didn't think it was a good idea to start thinking about these things before everything ran out. So when he was cooking all of these big meals, they weren't like trying to figure out how to store it longer or what happens when things start to get low. And we really had no plan even to the end of the episode with what exactly their plan was going to be, taking this long trip to go see Tendo's family.
Well, Kencho is a comedian, so obviously he's got jokes. Kencho has not been taking it seriously. But you know who has? Tendo. Tendo's been taking it seriously this whole time. He seriously wants to complete his bucket list. He seriously has been making actions to do so. And coincidentally has been surviving. Remember, Tendo saved Kencho. And he went through a midst of zombies to do it. He's in Tokyo, it's going down, but I'm sure that with his ingenuity and perspicacity, he will be able to survive this situation and bring his friends along.
I felt like they could have asked Shizuka for some survival tips when they had met up with her the last time. That didn't happen, and so they kind of seem to be flailing. Yes, Tendo is going about his business to try and finish his bucket list, well, their bucket list. But that's not really anything in terms of survival. I mean, the thing that he did on his bucket list was go find a gold watch. They end up traveling and they get caught by a group of thugs. And Kencho believes that it's his fault why this happened. Do you believe that it's Kencho's fault that Tendo has to work for his old boss?
No, I believe he didn't help like usual because Kencho is a burden. Like we had this discussion a long time ago. I thought that he'd pick up and be better. He's good for moral support, I give him that, but that's about it. But this situation is not Kencho's fault in my opinion. I feel like it was already orchestrated by Kozuki Chief. He had already had this planned, the same way Shizuku said it. But I know that if Kencho was full fighting fit, this would be a different story.
Okay, now I'll first start with how this is not Kencho's fault. Kencho out of the group, he's the only one that we've never heard him say how he used to watch zombie movies. Now, if anyone's watched zombie movies, zombie TV shows, you know that this type of thing is quite common. It's gonna happen at least once or maybe twice, sometimes multiple times, where the bad guys are being opportunists and they will set up roadblocks to steal vehicles, fuel, supplies, people. So Kencho's the only one who hasn't said he's watched zombie stuff, so I'll give him that. However, he was in the motorbike, meaning he had a better view of the road, he had an easier chance of stopping, turning the car, and also notifying the others of what was happening. But because he wasn't paying attention as usual, he is showing us that now that there's no food, Kencho only brings dick to the table.
Damn!
Yo! That went left real quick. No. I don't even know what I'm going to say. He does get naked a lot.
Yeah, he was naked again today, like for no reason.
Okay, look. Tendo's trying to make Shizuku his girl, innit? Clearly. He fancies her. He thinks she's all that. She definitely doesn't want none of this. However, if my boy kept getting naked in front of the girl that I'm crushing on, I'm going to be upset. And Kencho finds every opportunity to remove them clothes. He's like, all of you at home. Like right now, you're probably listening to this, but no clothes. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, Kencho's he's a liability.
Both of them are liabilities together.
No, bruv. No. Don't do my man Tendo like that. Tendo at least is a liability, but fixes his fuck-ups. Kencho f***s up and then Tendo fixes his fuck-ups. So this dynamic is weird. Now, we've already discussed this dynamic in different episodes because they've teamed up before, especially with that shark-human hybrid in that Hero of the Dead episode. It was apparent then, and it's starkly apparent now, that they have completely different ideologies. Now, we can see that Shizuku's all about, let's do this, A to B, this is the plan, this is the list, this is what we're doing. And these two boys are just like, the lads, I want to go and watch. I want to look flashy. I want the weirdest RV with a crane. And I'm not going to lie, I saw the RV with a crane and I thought, yeah, that's me as well. So I get it. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying that the dynamic of the team is going to be very, very fractured. A lot of friction's going to happen. And the obvious tension of Tendo wanting a piece of that Shizuku is always going to come up. And she shuts that down.
Okay, so they decide that they're gonna go get an RV. Tendo and Kencho, they both are gonna get this RV because Tendo has the idea that it's a great way to get around in a zombie apocalypse. I agree with him. It is a great idea. They'll be able to store their food. They'll be able to store extra fuel as well as whatever's in their tank. They'll have a sleeping area and they won't always have to be like on the road because RVs are for camping. It's not gonna, I mean, it can't deal with any terrain, but it can deal with more than just the normal roads. It sounds like a great idea, so I'm with him on this. But then they run into Shizuka because she has the exact same idea. It's kind of getting a little bit silly with the amount of times that they're just happening to run into each other. Japan is not that small. They're not going to have just one RV place. Also, she left them the previous night. She was in a bus. I just want everyone to realize like the way the events went down, just to understand why I think that this doesn't make sense. She was in a bus, obviously on her way out of the city. However, they got accosted by zombies and so she couldn't go. They ended up together at the aquarium. She was saying that she's planning to leave from then. She was already planning to leave. That's what she was doing on the bus. So she did what? Decided to go back on herself and go somewhere else to stay the night and then leave at the exact same time as Tendo the next day.
Anime, innit?
The bus load of people, they seem to be leaving together to like move on as well. I don't know, it just seems a little bit weird that they would just end up here again. Also on top of that, this new team, I'm not really feeling this for Shizuka. And this is because these two guys are a massive liability. Yes, Tendo seems to get out of a lot of situations. He is quite skilled in a lot of areas, but he's still a liability. There's so many things that he does not think about. Even when they were leaving to go get the RV and Kentra was like, oh, are we gonna go get a real gun? Because, you know, they need something to protect themselves. He says, no, we're going to get the RV. That's fine. But now someone has brought up an actual real thing that you can get, a weapon to protect yourselves. Had you had the weapon in this situation, they only had bats. You could have probably fought your way out of there or threatened your way out of the situation, but you've only got a water gun.
Anime, innit?
I don't like this for Shizuka at all, especially because I feel like when she brings up valid things, the anime, I don't know if it's just for comic relief reasons or what, but they make her out to be a bitch. But she's correct. What she's saying is correct.
Anime, innit? I want to even go further for how bad this is for Shizuka. You're with two strangers as a female where both of them are stronger than you and can overpower you at any point, and you're driving an RV to go a long journey. What happens if you need to sleep? What happens if it's the time of the month? What happens if you feel scared? Where are you going to sleep? What, like, come on, like, what is the actual plan here? All three of you going to cuddle up to each other. This doesn't sound right for her in the first place. But she chose, I guess, because I guess she had no other option and it's an apocalypse. So, I mean, what would you do?
Big Boy Sama, first of all, I'd just like to thank you for taking this in the darkest direction ever.
Well, you know.
We all needed that, obviously. The apocalypse wasn't, you know, awful enough. Now we've got extra reality. Love that. Love that for us all.
It's rare, isn't it? It's rare. It's real rare.
What would I do? I wouldn't be going with these two people. Definitely not. But the way that this anime is set up, it's kind of like there's no options. It's really weird because they keep telling us how there's more zombies every day. However, we haven't seen the people that are becoming into the zombies in the first place. We haven't seen any of that. We've seen very little people and very little groups. And anytime we happen to see a group, they're just zombified pretty much straight away.
Yeah, well, one person is a zombie in the group or something.
I've never seen such lack of options in a zombie situation. with such lack of options, I mean, maybe eventually I would just be like, okay, I guess I keep running into you anyway, like, I guess. However, again, she was on her way out of the city. She already seems to be planning how not to become a zombie. How does she not have a plan? Why would she put that on the back burner to follow him to his family's house? It's so bizarre. I can't understand why things are happening. And I'm starting to think that maybe I should just let that go a little bit. Hit the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell for notifications. And if you want even more content, hit us up on Bum Anime Insta. It's the place to be.
The world has changed. Everything is not the same value as it used to be. Look at the gold watch. We saw 9 million on some of them, 4.5 million, this, that, and the other. It means diddly squat. That doesn't mean nothing. You can't eat it. It won't help you survive. It's useless. You saw RVs, 23 million for RVs. You just nicked one, 5-finger discount. You get what I mean? So everything has changed in terms of how much it's worth. Food and water is worth more than gold. We know that. It's a zombie apocalypse. And then when they run into Quinzica Chief, they realize that at this moment in time, they are also objects. They're equipment. They're tools to be used. And it's not even them, it's Tendo. Tendo is a tool to be used for the means of the boss's, I don't know, ambition. Because I don't understand why you've got them working so hard for what? So that you can eat, there's enough food. So that you can drink, there's enough beer. You've got all the cargo in the area. Like, what exactly are they working hard for? Who are you trading with? Like, do you get what I mean? I don't get it. However, he's put himself on the pedestal as the big I am, and everyone has given him that authority. He's got the backing of a baseball team, so therefore he's got protection. And he's got resources, and he's got, I guess, farm animals in the sense of zombies. My guy is the king right now, and everyone else is below him and peasants. So I guess everything's changed, and we just saw a stark dose of reality in this situation.
Now, in this situation, Tendo's old boss is doing what he's always done. He already understands that human beings can be used for his own gain, and he's continuing to do the same thing. I actually counter you and say it doesn't matter if there's no one to trade with. It doesn't matter if there's no purpose to this. This is about control. This is about keeping himself in the position that he's in and making the people that are below him believe that they need him. And they kind of do. They need him for the food. They're certainly getting their food from somewhere, and even though the power has gone out, they still have electricity, so they obviously have like generators. Eventually that's going to run out too. But he has clearly planned in some way, whereas our group of people have planned not a bit and have ended up running out of everything and are ending up leaving. Although it's part of Tendo's plan to leave, it's kind of like they're also forced to leave because they've used all of the resources. They didn't plan for anything extra, and so they didn't value anything. They wanted to quickly run out, go drink all of the beer, buy out all of the chocolate, sit there watching TV, using all the electricity, using the water tank as much as possible. They didn't think about the actual value that it would have once it was gone and how much they would need it to survive, literally just keep breathing. Instead, we've got Tendo and Kencho focusing on really expensive watches that don't mean anything and can't provide them anything anymore. The time for flexing and all of that is done. Who are they posing for? They're taking all these photographs. The internet is dead. Like, it's time to think about something else, but they're still stuck in the same place, you know, where everything is all well and good. The same thing they did with the RV. Now, Shizuka was saying they needed a vehicle where if there are abandoned cars on the road, they'll be able to still get past the cars, that the tires will be sturdy enough for them to get to where they need to get to. Thinking about all of these things, and they're just saying, no, let's go for the most expensive one, because that's what Tendo actually picked. Again, the most expensive RV. It wasn't really anything to do with practicality or anything like that. And I'm not saying that they can't have something nice, but the fact that they're going for value in terms of monetary, it's kind of making it feel as if this anime is in danger of the plot being more important than what actually makes sense for the episode or sense for the situation at hand.
Yeah, I was getting the same feeling. Like, they started off well, everything kind of made sense. They even put us on paths of looking for Easter eggs and opportunities to find out what's actually going on. And it's slowly turning into the let's just knock off stuff off the bucket list thing, as opposed to the bucket list is an integral part of the plot. It's a shame. They've still got time. It's not a one-off. So I'm not making light of it because it's happened 2 or 3 times already. But I hope that it gets back on track now that Shizuku's part of the team and there's a level-headed sense of sensibleness in the group. I don't think that she will have a voice like you said. I think that they will just, again, turn her out to be a and it will just carry on being the Tendo and Kencho show in the situation, and they get lucky because of plot armor. And plot armor is great. Like, we like anime with plot armor. Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, certain things plot armory, but it can't be your only thing. And I hope that they don't turn into an anime of plot armor and cheap laughs just because they can. I want to know why the zombie apocalypse happened. We had a little bit of it in this episode when Shizuku was like, look, we need to know how it started, how it spread, what's going on, so that we can have countermeasures. Like, it was good, but they didn't even last long on that. It was just a little touch and go back to Kencho doing something silly, i.e. not looking at the road, and then boom, boom, boom. So I get it. I get why that you're pandering to the bits that have worked in the past 3 episodes, because yeah, some of the bits are funny and some of the bits are actually quite coincidental in a great sarcastic, sardonic way. But I hope that they get back on track and understand that the plot is very important here, because this could be a great anime and I don't want to see it fall off.
Also, I just want to say one more thing about the actual bucket list itself. I want to see proper things on that bucket list. I don't want to see get a TV, buy a gold watch. He was agonizing over this bucket list on what to put on in a couple of episodes ago, and all we've had is really stupid things. Ride in an RV. The whole reason for him wanting to do a bucket list was for him to get the excitement back into his life, to do things that got his blood pumping because of how bad this job was. But we have seen him do really nothing at all, just really small things. It doesn't even have to be spectacular per se, but something that you've never done before that's interesting. Just sitting in the RV isn't interesting, but maybe going camping under the stars with the RV would have been more interesting, you know?
I would personally like, and guys, I hope this is the route that you're taking. As Tendo grows, because of the situations that you're going to put him in, his bucket list changes to something that is more substantial. Let's hope that that is the route that they're taking, because it's a well-established manga and we haven't watched it. It's got lots of volumes, so hopefully that's the way, because you can't get that big without having enough consistency or enough things to grab the attentions of your reader, or else your manga dies.
What did you think about his boss basically forcing him to work for him again, and his PTSD that he seemed to be experiencing in this episode?
I didn't want to touch on this in this episode personally. I wanted to touch on it in the next episode because I think we get a more fuller picture. It is very starking, the change that instantly happened in him. Like, we saw this before, but we saw it in the opposite light when the zombie apocalypse actually started happening and my guy was happy. The straight change in emotion and personality of Tendo. He's a very emotional person and you can tell it on his face, the way he's shaking, the way he's, again, as you said, getting the PTSD. And it's very sad to watch, because I know in my personal experience, there are people that elicit that visceral reaction from me, because when I was younger, I was smaller and I couldn't do nothing, and they were constantly over my head and telling me how bad I was or telling me how I should be. And basically I had to grow out of that and learn that I am a person too. And I hope that Tendo actually gets that from this situation. But the stark change was very immediate, very strong and very striking. And it was nice to hear, even though we didn't see them two interact, Shizuku actually having a little bit of empathy for Tendo in this situation. It's bad that it's about this, but it's somewhat comforting for the reader and the viewer, as opposed to Tendo themselves.
Personally, I didn't really feel anything about it. I actually had more feelings in the beginning about his work situation, and even when he had that horrible dream, I had a very different reaction. But I think that when it was done in this episode, it just felt strange. Like it didn't quite go.
Yeah.
I don't know why I felt that way, but it just felt slightly off to me. However, what I will say is that I really didn't like the way when he said, yes, he will work for his old boss. Kencho and Shizuka kind of made that sound as if they didn't agree with what he was doing, but they also sort of turned away as if it wasn't anything to do with them. And I felt like that was really messed up because, again, I do think Kencho could have helped them avoid this situation. He's only going through with it because Kencho was so badly injured. He's the only one that has to work, and the other two just acted like it wasn't their problem. I thought that was effed up. I had more feelings about that than his PTSD because it just felt like it wasn't real.
That's why I wanted to talk about it in the next episode, because I feel like we'll get a more rounded experience. Who knows? Maybe they will do it well. But the little flashes are probably the beginning of the overcoming arc, I guess.
Yeah, I can see that coming too. Okay, so rating. What would you rate this episode?
I'll give it a solid 7. It got better towards the end, but definitely room for improvement.
I feel like I was generous last week. I gave it a very generous rating that it didn't really deserve. Today, I'm gonna give it a 5. It wasn't terrible. It was an alright episode. I've got some concerns going forward, and so hopefully they'll pick it up next week, but I'm not gonna pretend that it was awesome today. If you've made it this far, you're a real one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to get more of our episodes. See you on the next one. Peace.